Hi, and welcome to the Sage Holistic Show. My name is Emily Sellis, and I am your host. Today, I want to start by letting you know that there is a trigger warning for the episode content that we're putting out today. The trigger is the content of childhood abuse, sexual, emotional, and mental. I want to start off by saying that April is National Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is what inspired this episode. And here at Sage, we have a very big heart and desire to help people that have been through such terrible experiences to come to a place of healing, hope, and recovery. We offer a lot of different classes and services for physical, mental, and spiritual health and healing, and we hope that you'll be able to reach out for some support if you feel that we can be helpful in any way. In today's episode, I interviewed Claire Turner, who is a child abuse survivor and author of her recently released book, One, who is using her voice to speak out against the terrors of her childhood abuse that she and her sisters survived. And she shares a beautiful story that is full of hope and recovery and shows that this is possible for anyone who has been through this. It's my hope that you'll share this message and spread that beauty and spread that love and hope. Have a listen. Sage is a 501c3 nonprofit organization building community by providing education and counseling about physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. We encourage all of our listeners to find their own path to what holistic wellness means to you. Hi, this is Emily Sellis with Sage Holistic Health and Wellness Center. I am so pleased that we have Claire Turner, an author and writer of the book One, here with us today to share a really special message. April is National Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Child Abuse Prevention Month. I wanted to have Claire Turner on here to talk about her personal experience. Claire, welcome to the show.
Hi, so happy to be here.
Thank you so much for taking the time. And I know that this is very sensitive material. There is so much bravery and courage behind your sharing this story with the world. And I know that you have such a positive intention for doing so. And I'm really grateful to you for being willing to share your story
Oh,
here with us today.
well, thank you. I'm happy to do it. And I'm just hopeful that it can maybe spread awareness that there is healing that's possible and maybe just give somebody hope that's struggling out there.
Thank you so much for doing that. And I just wanted to start by introducing you. So you are a wife, you are a mother of four, you have a bachelor's degree, you've worked in the field of mental health for 15 years, and you are an author. And you've written this book, which I'm going to definitely link to that in the show notes for anyone who wants. I believe it's got a free copy on Kindle right now, or you can purchase the paperback. Is that right?
Yep, and there will be an audio version coming soon.
Oh, okay, excellent. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of share how this book came into being. And I know that there's a lot of story here, so feel free to share whatever you would like there as far as how this book, One, came into being.
Yeah, so I, when I was just a couple years ago, actually, I unfortunately learned some things about my childhood that had occurred that I had completely blocked out. And um, I have a sibling that was also a victim, and she started having memories come back to her, and obviously shared those with me. And so this book kind of talks about the process of when I heard this news and obviously how it affected me, but also it kind of was the door that opened my own memories, unfortunately. I think those probably would have been blocked out forever without this kind of catalyst. But unfortunately, yeah, those things came to light. And through the process of therapy and getting some help in that regard, kind of worked through these memories, and kind of discovered that she and I were sexually abused. And after that, more so was kind of more of the mental abuse,
Yeah.
and physical abuse towards me. And then he focused his sexual abuse on my sister. So unfortunately, those things happened. And so throughout the process of healing, I just thought, you know what? I had some really, really low moments where I questioned everything. And I even questioned, this is so bad. And he made me feel so bad that I felt like he won. And he was completely winning in my life in a negative way, to the point where I just didn't even want to live sometimes because it was so bad. And I know that anybody that's kind of been through these things, can feel that same way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but through this process, I was able to find healing. And I what I found was when I was able to combat his evil by
Mhm.
doing good,
Yeah.
by healing myself, by lifting other people, um, that's how I fought against him. And so that's where the idea of the book came forward is, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that you didn't ruin my life, and you're not going to ruin my life. And this is what you did. You know what you did. And this is how I'm going to fight it.
Yeah, and the book certainly shows your spirit and your fight and how you were able to turn it around, because like you said, there is those places that have felt like there would be no return from,
Yeah.
but yet there is the show in this book of how you were able to do that. And you write so beautifully and you share your story so openly.
Oh,
And
thanks.
and yeah, I mean, if you the hope in writing the book really is what I hear coming loud and clear, is that this is to help other people have somewhere to lean on and gain hope if they're going through something similar.
Oh, yeah. This whole being abused in any form that it takes can leave you in a very victimized and hopeless position. And sometimes you just need to grasp at anything to kind of have hope, even just for that moment.
Yeah.
And so if this helps somebody do that, that's why I wrote it.
Yeah, and so that's really why we're here doing this today. I mean, I know the story is harrowing and it is evil, like you said, and
Yeah.
it's terrible. But
Yeah.
I also know that the reason that you wrote that is because there's a message that is very clear for other people in hearing that. So I guess my question for you would be, what would you say to someone who's out there listening to this, and even just in this very bit of introduction of where we're talking right now, just it's hitting them in their heart and they know that this is something that they need to pay attention to in their own life. I wonder what you would share with your experience and how to help guide someone on that path.
I would tell them, and I do mention this book, that you know what, you're loved, you're believed, and there definitely is hope. Even when you can't see it, there is hope,
Yeah.
and you can't define your lowest moment um, as your future because it's just not true. And if you can just get past that moment or that day, that evening, and get past that, sometimes you have a new perspective.
Hmm.
Even if it goes on for a day or two or three or months or years and you feel like you're struggling, it doesn't define how it will always be. You can't believe that because that's the lie that a lot of people that are abused believe, is that the lowest of lows that you're feeling is how it will always be. It's just not
Yeah.
true. And
Yeah.
you can't give up. I just wish everybody out there would just, don't you dare give up. Don't let them win. Um, that's just not, you can't let them do it because they won't win.
Yeah.
Um, I think, when I was little, one of the reasons why I wasn't a direct, this abuser that we had, he tried his hand at sexually abusing me. And I was such a stubborn little girl. I still have that in me. But I think that is definitely what saved me. I was stubborn and I would tell people how it was. And um, he kind of shifted his abuse towards more of the mental and physical when that happened, when I fought against him, when I didn't
Yeah.
go along with what he was saying. And um, I think that has served me well through my life. And
Hmm.
just even now in my healing is, no, I'm not going to let you win. I'm just not going to let you do it because, it's been 33 years. And when I am triggered or I have those moments that are low, um, I just have to get past them. And then I remember, nope, he's not gonna do this to me anymore. He can't
Yeah.
have this pull on my life anymore.
Yeah, and I hear like in those moments where it's been so dark and so awful, I I wonder what has it been that has gotten you through those moments to be able to move forward and to have it? Do you think it's the stubbornness
Yeah.
or is it something else or a multitude of things?
Oh, I think it's a combination of things. I definitely do have that stubborn side, but when you're feeling so low, it's really hard to rely on that because you don't feel it. You're just feeling the heartache and the trauma of it all
Yeah.
and the hopelessness of it all. And so in those moments, you really have to, and I've used this on a lot of patients that I've worked with, is you really, no matter what you're going through, when you're in those moments, you have to um, use that. You have to pull out that emotional toolbox. If I needed to fix something, it was broken, I would go pull out the toolbox and pick out whatever tool was appropriate for that situation. And the same thing with these traumas that we go through with PTSD. You have to just pull out those things that will help you in that moment. You have them ready to go.
Yeah.
Um, for me, that's been my loved ones, my spouse when I'm struggling. He's there to help. Friends, family, therapy,
Mhm.
even simple things like go out in the sunshine. Just
Mhm.
go out in the sunshine and just soak it up, or change your scenery.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to put a time limit on it. Let yourself cry, let yourself wallow, let yourself feel sorry for yourself or be
Mhm.
angry or mad for 5 minutes. And then when that's over, you go do something else. Or I have
Yeah.
a playlist, a Spotify playlist that I listen to when I need to be lifted up, when I want to feel good and be angry
Yeah.
or feel good. There's just a lot of things that people can do in those low moments just to kind of get yourself out of it.
Those are a lot of really great ideas. So hopefully our listeners, I can even put that list in the show notes. So I think it's a great
Yeah.
place to start. I work as a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I do have a lot of clients that have suffered from childhood abuse,
Mhm.
and I can see how difficult it is to shift out of those places because when like you used the word triggered, when you get triggered, so when something happens and it shifts you into that place that feels hopeless and feels so dark, it can feel near impossible to move and to shift. And so just making a tiny reach, even though it's not going to fix it, it helps to shift you and move you like one side step closer to where it is that you're wanting to feel that hope. And I think that was great the way that you described kind of how that is. And it is certainly not some like rainbows and butterflies easy thing to do. Like let me just do this thing and I'll feel better. It's like blood, sweat, and tears getting from those little places and moving forward out of those dark places.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to crawl your way out of it, and sometimes it's easier than others. And everybody's different. I mean, so even the way I've managed what happened, the trauma that we've been through, and my healing has been very different from my sister who went through similar and even, worse things, I would say, from my perspective. Everybody heals very differently and everybody deals with it. So you can't compare yourself to somebody else. Oh, I should be doing what they're doing, or I should be
Yeah.
feeling, or I should be going at their pace on how they're feeling, because it's just, you can't compare yourself. Everybody has to kind of go through this journey alone, and yet surrounded by those people that you love.
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up, that comparison. I think I don't remember who said that quote. Is it Theodore Roosevelt? The comparison is the thief of joy. And
Oh
it's,
yeah.
it really is. It's just, that would be a hard place to fall into, to say, why am I not getting better? Why is this person able to heal and why am I not able to heal? And
Yeah.
yeah, being patient with that process, because there is there's grief work in all of this because of all that was lost. I mean,
Yeah.
all that was lost because of the trauma that another person inflicted on you. And there's
Yeah, and I think
a lot to
that's
mourn.
one of the major things that you have to kind of let go of. And that's the hardest part, is letting go of what could have been.
Yeah.
And for me, that was I think that's still one of the hardest parts. I was for those listeners who haven't read the book, I was turning 4 when this all happened.
Yeah.
And during that time period of your life, you're still kind of developing into yourself.
Oh
You're
yeah.
just barely getting your verbal skills in place, and
Mhm.
figuring out your place in the world and who you are. And he inflicted such mental, I would say, torture at that time, psychological
Yeah.
damage. And
Yeah.
that really affected my future. And I've had a lot of times where I thought, I could have been so much happier, or I could have been so much more outgoing if he hadn't have done these things.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I just had to kind of, and I'm still not quite there. I don't want anybody to think that I've completely healed from this journey, because I think there's always going to be hard moments, or you're going to question yourself, but it's an
Yeah.
ongoing process. But I think you just kind of have to accept that what happened happened. It wasn't your choice. And for me, I really had to reflect on my life and say, you know what, I wouldn't have been who I am today if I hadn't have gotten those things. And that doesn't mean that I'm grateful that I went through those things, or I'm grateful for the abuse that he did to me, but it just means that I've been able to gain a lot more compassion quicker than maybe I would have otherwise,
Yeah.
or I'm stronger than I would have been otherwise. It's all about kind of reflecting, but also spinning it. You know what? This is the good that came out of that. And unless you can do that, you really get stuck in that rut of what could have been.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine this is a place that took a long time to be able to even say that.
Oh, yeah, and it's still ongoing, because, and even when I say that, it doesn't mean like I still question, I don't have like, you always question your self-worth. So it doesn't mean that I think I'm wonderful and great. It just means that, I'm grateful that I have this side of me,
Yeah.
because I've been able to develop that further. And look how that served me in my life. I've got that stubbornness, I've got that determination, and look how far that's brought me in my life. Or I have such empathy for people, and look at what that's done for me, and look what that's done for other people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know when we were getting ready to do this recording, Claire, you are using an alias, and I wanted to ask if you don't mind explaining the necessity of that and
Sure.
the care that we're taking to protect your identity, and in your book, Protecting Your Identity. Maybe you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So during the process of writing the book, in fact, I think it was even before that, part of my healing for me was speaking out about what happened. And I decided to go to the police. And prior to that, I'd contacted several attorneys and just trying to look at my options because, again, this was 33 years later that this is all coming to light. And
Right.
so there's obviously not going to be direct proof. It's more he said, she said. There's not going to be much that I can go off of. But it was so important to me that I say something
Yeah.
because he had tried for so long to keep me quiet. Um, and the reason why I titled my book One is because he would always threaten me and he would scream in my face and he would say, "You say one word, you're dead meat." And so I named it One because, it was just my way of saying, well, one. I said one word, right? And
Yeah.
so for me, it was just important in my healing journey that I speak up and I say something, even if it never went anywhere. And
Yeah.
so I talked to several lawyers, and then I did make a statement to the police, and there is an active investigation going on. Now, I don't expect that anything will ever happen. If it did, wonderful. Um, but at the same time, never did it so that he would spend the rest of his life in jail. If he did, that would be great. But I also realized that that wouldn't help me in my healing journey. I would
Mm.
still have the same um, trauma that he inflicted on me. I would still be dealing with the same emotions and difficult things, whether that he was in
Yeah.
jail or not. So I wanted to speak up. And then also, if there were other victims out there, I felt like if anybody else has come forward or ever does come forward, my words would corroborate theirs. And so that's why I did it. So
Wow.
there is an active investigation going on, and the detective that I'm working with is very well aware of the book, encouraged me to do this. And obviously, I have to be careful. My abuser still walks free. He's living his life, and I don't know what his mindset is right now. To me, from what I know of him and what I remember of him, he was a complete sociopath.
Hmm.
But I don't know what his life is like right now, and I don't know if he's dangerous, and I don't know if he's thought about it since or if he just got on with his life. So
Right.
obviously, I have to protect myself. There is another victim, obviously, and I do need to protect her. So
Yeah.
I did use the alias in my book, and as much as I would love to just name him by name and tell who I am and use my face and my name, it honestly makes me angry that I can't do that. I think it's for the best right now that, you
Yeah.
know, I can still get my message out without having to directly notify him and let me know.
Yeah. No, I think that all of that makes a lot of sense. And it's also a really tall order to do all of that while you
Mm.
are feeling all these feelings. I think that shows, I mean, it's just a challenging position that you've been in and you've walked through that
Yeah.
gracefully. And I mean, I think one of the things that when you were just talking about that, I remember reading your book and just feeling enraged. And that's
Yeah.
me, not you. I'm sure the anger has just been tremendous that you have felt.
Yeah.
I get choked up just
Oh.
thinking about it. But
Thank
how do
you.
you deal with the anger on that in your day to day?
Um, the anger comes in waves, and I definitely have had my moments of wishing I could just go knock on his door.
Yeah.
And um it's just hard. You really just have to kind of ride the waves. I hate what he did to me. I more so hate what he did to my sister.
Mm.
And I hate that he continues to affect our lives. Um, the only way I've gotten to past it is to know that I think it just comes from that just stubborn desire to, like I wanted to do back then, to rebel against him, is just not let him affect my life. And that comes in the
Uh,
form of when I'm feeling low, but also when I'm angry.
yeah.
Um, when I'm feeling those low moments of, he's probably, I know somewhat of what he's doing in his life because of social media.
Uh-huh.
And it drives me crazy when I see him enjoying life when my sister is struggling
Yeah.
or I'm struggling and he just seems happy go lucky. That's what just
Yeah.
absolutely gets me.
Right.
Um, that's a hard one. I don't know the answer to that. I just know that you have to ride those waves.
Hmm.
Um, you have to let yourself feel that anger. But then for me, I've had to just learn how to curb that anger. Okay, I can be angry at him, but it's not going to do anything to him. So, how am I going to use that in my own life? And that came in the form of writing the book, and it comes in the form of just by the grit of my teeth, just holding on and doing better in my own life than he did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I can see how you having the voice and doing all those things for you worked. I mean, like you said, there's different ways for everyone to go through their healing, but this for you really made sense, and you're really following your drive and that motivation in responding to that anger in this way, even by speaking on this episode. So,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, thank you. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about how therapy was helpful with, I mean, I know there's a lot of different methods that therapists can use to help their clients with trauma. And I mean, the way that you described in your book, kind of the process that you went through, I believe it was hypnotherapy that you
Yeah.
utilized. And if you're,
Mhm.
comfortable sharing a little bit about that, I wanted to ask you about your experience in therapy and what was helpful.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I'll preface that with saying that, I had been through some difficult things in my life prior to this all coming out, and I had utilized therapy before, and I always felt like it was a very helpful thing. I never needed to go for very long. Sometimes it was just a nice thing to check in and gain some tools or just be able to have an outlet to talk about things that you're going through.
Uh-huh.
Um, in this case, it was definitely something that I was just trying to deal with on my own. Kind of that, again, that stubbornness of I can manage this, I can do this on my own. I know how to help other people, I can help myself. But yet I was struggling, and there was just things that I was not. It got too overwhelming for me, and so I did see several, probably two therapists before I found the right one for me. And I think that's what people need to remember is you really have to find the one that's right for you. And you
Yeah.
can't get frustrated or give up on it if you're not finding just the right one because you will. You'll find one that you connect with and
Hmm.
one that will be able to kind of help you with your, particular issues. And so I was able to find one. And, I'd been familiar with um, hypnosis and never thought it was for me.
Hmm.
Um, Part of my resulting trauma is just being hyper aware of my surroundings, and I just didn't think it would ever work for me.
Yeah.
But I ended up trying it, and I ended up being a very good subject.
Mm.
I mean, you either are or you're not, and that's how a lot of the memories were explained to me. So I would have um, memories come back to me. I learned that I would feel this feeling of dread, and I knew another memory was coming. And the book talks about this process.
Yeah.
And um, then when I was able to go to my therapist and use hypnosis, I was able to kind of explain a lot of those things that were coming up and get more details and reframe a lot of these things. Now, this might not be for everybody. It worked for me, and I know that it's
Uh-huh.
been successful for a lot of people. But through the process of hypnosis, I was able to, again, explain a lot of these memories, but also the most important part was reframe them so that
Yeah.
it wasn't so scary, that we were able to kind of fast forward through things that I didn't want to see or hear. The brain is an incredible thing.
Yeah.
Um, and it can heal. And I went for a lot of time thinking, I would tell my husband, I just said, I want a new brain. I wish I could get a new brain, because I just didn't ever think it would be possible. I thought that my abuser had ruined my wiring. He really had completely rewired my brain.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was impossible. But it is possible. It's not a quick process, and it will never be, I don't feel like, completely done, but it gets so much better. And in whatever form that takes, with the help that whoever is listening to this takes, you will find that healing. And it is possible to rewire those things, and to get past the hurt and shame and trauma, the PTSD issues. It is possible to get past these things. And hypnosis is one of those things that really helped me. But I've known other people that have utilized other forms of therapy. So again, it's just a very individual thing.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, being willing to go and try different therapists until you find one that fits. Because gosh, when you're opening yourself up to share these innermost experiences that have been hard to even talk about, you've got to make sure that you're feeling a pretty strong level of comfort with that person, even though they're a stranger. Like there's a lot you can feel just by sitting with someone as to whether or
Oh,
not you'll be able to go there with them.
yes. And I think I think number one is just don't get frustrated. It's hard to tell the same things over and over again, but once you find that person that you connect with, and that you're seeing that they're helping you look at things in a different light or heal, um, that's where kind of the amazing things happen.
Yeah.
Definitely um, therapy, and in addition to that, whatever form that healing takes for people, whether that's incorporating things into your daily life like exercise, you
Hmm.
know, some people find benefit with the psychotropic medications. Everybody, again, is just very individual in what is going to help them.
Yeah. Yeah. And asking too. I mean, because a lot of times when we're all in that place of needing healing, it's hard for us to think through some of these things. So even being able to ask for some, question other people who've done it and ask what they've done and refresh that, kind of hit the refresh button to remind yourself, because it is hard to stay focused on those things when the wave of shame or pain or, trauma kind of comes back in. It's hard to think.
Yeah.
But
I remember asking my therapist, I just said, I had to ask him several times, is this possible? Is this really gonna, is my brain gonna heal? I remember asking her that very many times. And
yeah,
she just had to reassure me that yes, healing is possible.
yeah,
So if you're questioning that today, it is possible. It might not ever be perfect. It's not ever going to go away, but you can heal, and you will find brightness and happiness and joy, and those negative times are going to dissipate. They're not going to be such like the main focus in your life.
yeah. I'm so glad that you're sharing that message with our listeners. And Claire, I wanted to ask if you have any advice for someone who's a friend or a loved one of someone who's experienced abuse on how to be supportive and helpful, like what to do, what not to do.
Yeah, I think I can speak a lot of that from my own experience. I felt many times I had to unfortunately walk this journey alone, but also with the understanding that unless you've been through these kind of things, it's very difficult for people to know what to say. It makes people very nervous to talk about it. They don't want to offend you. They don't want to trigger you more. They don't want to hurt you. A common thing that I've heard people say is, well, that was such a long time ago. You should be over it by now. Or why are you still thinking about it? Or why are you dwelling on those things still? So those are things that definitely don't help people. I think the best thing people can do is just be there. Just be a good, positive presence in people's lives. Don't go there with judgment. Let them talk to you. Let them, start where they're at. Meet them where they are.
Hmm.
Um, uh, it's they need love, and that's about it. They need love and happiness. My sister and I have pretty much the same sense of humor, and I have told her that she has to laugh every day because she struggles, and I will send her funny videos or funny things, and she said that has helped her. So find a way to laugh every single day, or help your loved one laugh, or just enjoy life again. Build
Yeah.
them up. Just let them remember that they're going to be okay. The other day, I don't often get too many triggers anymore, but the other day I had a difficult moment and where a memory came up, and my husband just hugged me, he held me, and he just said, what can I do for you right now? What do you need right now? And I think that's
Yeah.
sometimes all people need. They don't need to be told what to do, just be with them or ask what they need. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's just enough for people.
Yeah. No, that's a great reminder on that, and also on what not to say. I think part of the awareness of, talking about this and you sharing your story is to also help other people know how to speak to people, because I do think well-meaning people can often leave someone feeling even worse, and that would never be their intention. So just
Yeah.
helpful to raise that awareness and to say you don't need to like go the opposite end of the spectrum and leave them alone completely because you don't want to offend. Please be there. um,
Yeah.
just be careful of what you're saying and be sensitive to the fact that there is a whole experience that you know nothing about, and that you just need to be there.
And I
So
also think, if you have been a victim, it's also important to remember those things on your end, is that it's easy to get flustered by people or offended. But again, a lot of people are just doing the best they can. I've had people say very insensitive things, and you just have to remember that they don't understand. They haven't been through it themselves. Sometimes people are just doing the best they know how to from their own perspective.
yeah,
And so don't let those things upset you too much, because it's not going to help anyone. So
yeah, yeah. Claire, I wanted to see if you want to read any excerpts from your book. I would love for our listeners to get a little bit of a feel. I just the way that you wrote this was just incredible, and inspiring and harrowing. Like I said before, definitely. You do share a lot about your abuse in your book, and I think for good reason. And so I just wanted to let you talk a little bit more about the book, or if there's excerpts that you'd want to read.
yeah, let me see if I can just pick a few here. So basically, the outline of the book is I am writing letters to my abuser, and I start the book just kind of talking to him and telling him how he's affected my life. And I give him one final offer. And that one final offer is my life, because at that time I didn't feel like I could go on. But before I let him have that, I wanted him to hear my words, because he had silenced me for so long. I felt like that was the least he could do to win this end game of what he did. And so the book is letters to him about what happened, the specific memories that came about, the abuse. And then we get to the end where I do offer to follow up on that final offer of giving him my life, because I just can't go on anymore. And the book is of hope. So I don't want people listening to this to think that it's just kind of a hopeless talk about abuse that happened, because it is. Read it to the end. The end is where you get that message of hope and of to go on. And so some of these things that I've picked out are from the very end. And um, so this is just a few excerpts from it. Um, said, And his name is Artie in the book. And obviously, I've changed his name, and that name was chosen for a reason, which is outlined in the book. But I say, Artie, you had a choice. You were abused, and you chose to continue the abuse. You chose to continue the cycle of dysfunction. I could continue tearing those down around me. I could choose to believe your lies. I could choose to take my own life and spread the ugliness of grief to those closest to me. Or I could choose life. I could choose beauty. I realized, Artie, that beauty, that light, is much more powerful than the darkness of abuse. Darkness will never win, Artie, never. It is a process you cannot stop. It is a process, most importantly, you will never win. Beauty is the one thing that can triumph over any evil. It is indestructible and can exist in the midst of evil. I didn't have a choice as a 4-year-old, Artie. I was a prisoner, but I was given a second chance, and this time I get to decide. Even if you were locked up for the rest of your life, there would be some glory in that, but its shelf life would be brief. I would still be left with the pain, the scars, the emotional trauma. I get to heal. I get to live my life. I get to sift through the dysfunctional foundation you crafted, chip it away, and create a new foundation that holds truths about who I am, that I'm not defined by you or your lies. So, no, Artie, you don't get anything else from me. You don't get to take one more thing from me.
Wow. Thank you for reading that, Claire. That is powerful. And for those of you who haven't had a chance to read this book yet, you'll find that there is absolutely a message of hope in this. And I know, Claire, I mean, you're very specific about what your hope is in sharing your story. So if you can just kind of review that one last time as we're coming to a close here with this interview.
Yes, I would just say, find the ways that you can counteract the bad, that whatever happened to you, find ways in your own life. For me, I've found, as I've helped other people through my profession, as I've lifted those around me, as I've taught my kids to do the same, that was the key to me to healing, that he won't win because there's all this other beauty that goes on that counteracts what he did, and that he didn't ruin me. And if you're listening to this, you're not ruined, and you are not your abuse. And just remember that your lowest point is never going to define your future. You have to push through, you have to fight, and just don't give up. Don't you dare give up, and don't you let them win.
Thank you so much, Claire, for being here with us today, for sharing your message of hope and sharing this amazing book. I hope all of you get a chance to pick up a copy and have a listen or a read. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending some of your time today with us at Sage Holistic Health and Wellness Center. If you like what we're all about, please consider supporting our nonprofit organization by making a tax-deductible donation. To do this, you can go to our website at www.sagewellnessctr.org and click on Donate in the upper right-hand corner. We look forward to spending some time again with you real soon. Take good care.